Almost 90% of the women that isolate the child or block the relationship with the child and the father, almost 90% of them are living below the poverty line.
How do you feel fatherlessness is affecting women financially?
I think it's doing a tremendous number on them. You know, the women who are into co-parenting, statistics show that they're 3 times more likely to make over $100,000 a year. So the ones that see the significance of the role of the father and the child financially are doing so much better. Almost 90% of the women that isolate the child or block the relationship with the child and the father, almost 90% of them are living below the poverty line. So I think it's a direct correlation that if you're trying to block this child from being fathered, you almost imprison yourself. You kill your quality of life because you don't have any free time. In this desire to have this extreme control, you actually lose your life yourself. And I think the women that don't do that, they have a lot more free time. They have a better quality of life. Statistically, they have a much higher chance to remarry, to rebuild their life. And they have I think 5 times less mental illness. I think the women who statistically, they block the children from the father, it was close to 3 times more likely to have a mental illness. And there was a 2 to 3 times likelihood of it to get worse throughout the years of doing that. So how do I think fatherlessness affects the women? I think it destroys your ability. Not to mention, spiritually, the Bible says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And I think that the universe, now you're ready to enrage the universe. So I just think any dream you have, goals you have, you're just making it miserable for yourself to accomplish anything. So I think it's a bad idea financially for women to be part of a fatherless culture or community.
Do women generally, or do most women, block the fathers from seeing the children?
Right now, parental alienation, there's about 20 million adults dealing with that, 90% of fathers, and 50 million children. That's almost 500 to 1,000 per zip code. I mean, nothing we have in American history is that big. COVID is nowhere near that. It's just all the parental alienation specialists connected similar to, Dr. Baker calls it intimate terrorism of the child and the father. So do women do it? It's insane numbers. Just in Father's Day alone, this 2021, they had so many articles that kept coming out from different states that they estimated that almost 10 million fathers were either being blocked by calling the police. It was their time, meaning it was their scheduled time to be with their children. Almost 10 million fathers, this is what they feel, based on all of the numbers, was disconnected from their child on Father's Day weekend. I mean, that was Father's Day weekend. So yes, it is a vicious issue, I believe, without question. And it's hurting, to me, the women more than anybody.
Right. That's why I question, why would women in a general, on a whole, choose to block their children from seeing the father? When, like you mentioned, it causes them a lot of pressure, with emotionally, financially, the children are paying. So that's why I wonder, is this something that they're doing in mass, or is it something where both the man and the woman are contributing to this alienation of the fathers? I don't understand. How does that break down?
So I can look at it in data sense, right? But I can also look at it in a psychological sense. So they always talk about, when you want to measure the darkest part of a human, when they want in the mental health world, when they want to measure the furthest that we can go, they look at serial killers. They measure about the darkest we can get by a serial killer. So they said men serial killers, when they kill a person, almost 90% of the time, they mark the body, put an ace of spades, something that they do, right? And they go home and watch the local news, because the darker a man gets, the more he demands respect. He doesn't earn it, he demands it, right? Drug dealers, but they don't earn it, they demand it, they steal it from people. Now, women serial killers are almost the exact opposite. They said, first of all, 60% of women serial killers are in the mental health field and nurses in the health field. But they said the women serial killers, when they kill the person, they lay beside the body and watch it die. So they said the natural nature, I have 3 daughters, right? I love my daughters, I have children. The darker nature of a woman is to go switch from care to control and to almost relish in suffering. And so the challenge that we're having is we don't have laws to adjust to that. There is no laws adjusting to the dark parts of women. Almost all the laws we have addressing the dark parts of men, but not the dark parts of women. And one of the things that Paul says in the Bible, he says, if it was not for the law, I would not know if it was a sin. He said, if I not for the law, I don't even know it's evil. So the Bible says we need a law so we can start at that. We can't even talk about walking with God or Islam or any belief system. You can't talk about being spiritual at a high level unless you can reach the law. If you need the law to not rape somebody, if you need the law to not steal, you're not ready for another level of growth on something else. You still need the law. So for millions of women, we don't even have a law about what's happening to the children and to the fathers right now, in terms of because so much of what's suffering in that regard is omission. So yeah, it's very, very common for a lot of the country to deal with that. It's more. If you hear about it, there was one of the girls I was working with mentoring. She forgave $30,000 worth of child support debt of her child. Before she can go throughout the week, there were almost 30 women who rebuked her. It was so common of plugging families into systems like that she actually was ostracized for forgiving the debt. So yes, it's very, very common.